Hello Lewis, this is the testing of your Toyota Celsior 1UZ FE VVTi right-hand drive manual harness. So you can see we've removed all the automatic gearbox wiring. We have installed your reverse switch for your J160 gearbox. Okay, so in terms of the harness, nice and easy. You've got the big plastic section at the back here. You've got a bolt fixing over there which will be present on your engine. This is a 3UZ. You've got one inside here. See if I can get to it. There you go, you can see it down there. And then lastly you've got one in the corner here. Okay, so running along the back you've got your main section. There's your plug for your sub harness that runs underneath and goes into the V-bank over there, so that stays separate from the main harness. Coming along here you can see we've used your original harness, so we've just pulled this all apart, cleaned it all up and rewrapped it in some Tessa engine bay resistant tape, so it's obviously resistant to fluids. Coming along the side here, you've got injector coil coming out, then you've got your ACIS, which should be this little black plug that goes there, and that obviously runs underneath your intake as well. Coming further along, again, this next breakout, you've got your cam sensor for your VVR sensor on this side, then injector and coil. Coming along here, injector and coil, and at the same breakout, you're going to have your plug for your oil control valve for your VVTi, and your coolant temp sensor in there. All right. Further a bit along here, then you've got your plug coming out for your mass airflow sensor. We're using a 3UZ mass airflow sensor, so yours is a much bigger airflow sensor. So obviously we just made a little patch harness there between the two of them. Coming along down here, you're going to have a section breakout here, which is going to go to your 3-pin alternator plug. Coming further along down here, you've got your lambda sensor plug for this side. All right, moving over to the other side over here. You've got the section breaking out on top here, going into this black piece of plastic. Bolt and bolt over there, so that fits down there. And looking along here, you've got this breakout at the back here, goes to your injector and coil there. This breakout here goes to this injector and coil. This one over here goes to your VVL cam sensor and injector and your coil. And then it comes out here, and here is your little noise filter, so there should be a grey thing bolted down to one of these bolts over here, and that just fits into that one. Coming further along, again, we're breaking out for your injector and coil at the front here, and your oil control valve for your VVTi solenoid over there. Coming further down, then we break out for your TPS plug over here. Coming down, we've got your drive-by-wire and clutch plug over there. A little bit further down, and we break out for your cam sensor at the front here. Now, your wire was cut off for the crank and everything, so obviously that's all been replaced directly to the ECU. But there's your two mounting points for this wire over here. Comes down into this cavity over here, so this is where your aircon pump would be. Comes down through that cavity over there, then through that cavity over there down to your crank sensor. Your oil pressure switch is going to come out here in order to go. Your oil pressure switch is here. This is an LS400 motor, so it's at the front here. Yours is at the back here, but that's that. All right, coming around to the back where obviously your reverse is coming out, then you've got your actual other lambda sensor over there. Now there should be a metal plate over here, so just make sure that is there. That's to protect the plug, and then there's sort of like a little mounting for that over there. Okay. Obviously your thick starter cable, which should still be on your engine, is over there, and that's what you're going to attach to the positive of your battery terminal. Coming down here, you've got it rubberized to a grommet to go through your firewall. Then you've got the internal part that goes through there. We break off down here to go into your fuse box, down there to plug into your ECU, and then you have one more plug over there which goes into the other side of the fuse box over there. Okay, this is your other plug, and that's the one that you're going to be connecting to your vehicle, so I'm just going to go through those now. It'll be in a welcome pack, but I'll go through it now just so you know exactly what's what. So the wires that are taken out at the moment, which is these three white ones at the top here, is the two reds. Those will be a permanent 12-volt supply, and your gray, that's your fuel pump 12-volt supply. The fuel pump is controlled by a relay in here, and it is controlled by the ECU. I do have a video on fuel pump systems and how they work, so explaining the two differences, basically two differences between the way Lexus and Toyota control their fuel pumps. If you want to watch that, go through the catalog and find that one. It'll explain it in great detail, but yeah, yours is controlled by the ECU and the relay. So all you got to do is connect this to your 12-volt side of your fuel pump, and away you go. So part of the customer plug is your OBD2 port. So that's obviously so you can plug in your OBD2 diagnostics and you'll be able to read live data, carry out tests, etc. Now, Obviously those are the powers and the fuel pump. Moving on to the other two main ones, we've got black with a red. Now that is your ignition 12 volt supply. So you need to make sure it gets 12 volts when the vehicle's on and cranking if you're using the key. If you connect it to an accessory power, what it'll effectively do, as soon as you move to crank it, it's going to actually shut down the ECU because it'll kill power to accessory feed. Okay. Black with the yellow, that's your starter. So that just requires a 12 volts when you want the vehicle to start. Now, as you can see, it's a thin cable. It's not actually going to the starter. It's just triggering the starter relay that's in here. Okay, so all of that heavy duty current is being taken care of through here. Then you've got this white with the blue. So the white with the blue, that is a clutch switch. That provides the earth for the starter relay. So if you don't have a clutch switch or you don't want to use a clutch switch, you can just connect that to earth. If you do want to use a clutch switch, then all you can do is just take that through a clutch switch, other side of the clutch switch to earth, and then your car won't start unless the clutch is pressed in. Safety feature, some people like it. So if you don't want to use it, like I said, just plug it straight to earth and away you go. Now on the indication size, we've got a yellow wire here, which is your tach signal. So we've got it connected to our cluster here because we're going to be using our cluster to show that the tacho signal works. We've got yellow with a red tracer, that's your check engine light. Now your check engine light is also in the fuse box. We put an LED in here. We do that as well so you can read codes, which I'll go through as part of the last piece with you. And the other one is your yellow with a black tracer. Now that's your oil pressure switch. In our case, we've just connected it to these LEDs. So you'll see we're going to use those to indicate that the lights and everything are working. All right, and we've got pink with a blue alternator light. And again, that's going to a LED, which we're going to use to indicate that that works. And in your case, because you've got the reverse hooked up, there's your blue with a red. So that's going to give you a 12 volts for your reverse signal. Okay, and that is fused inside the fuse box as well, 10 amp fuse there. Okay. So those are pretty much all the connections on there. That's basically what you have to connect in your vehicle. If you wanted to start those 2 to 12 volts, red to ignition, gray to fuel pump, black and yellow to 12 volts, she'll crank over and she'll start. Okay. The rest is all just for lights and so on your dash that you want to make work. Right, so moving over to what we're actually going to be testing today. So we're going to be looking at the dash lights, which I explained about the oil and the alternator light, as well as the check engine light. We'll make sure the LED in the fuse box comes on and the check engine light on the dash. We'll go through the OBD2 machine to make sure that it's communicating, and then we're actually going to activate the fuel pump through the diagnostic machine, and you'll hear that working. Then what we're going to do is we're going to fire up. Then we're going to look at the immobilizer removal. So if it fires up, the immobilizer is removed. Obviously the starter circuit's all intact and working if it cranks over. Then we're going to look at the drive-by-wire, so we'll give it a rev to make sure that it's working. We're going to use the machine to test the VVTi solenoids one at a time, so they make sure they're working. We'll look at the dash to show that the tach signal is coming through. Then what we're going to do is we're going to run through the whole engine, and we're going to pull off each injector one at a time. So I haven't got them clipped in at the moment, they're just resting on there. So we'll pull them off one at a time just to make sure that everything is running as it should. Okay, and that'll test that each cylinder is firing, so that'll be the injectors and coils section. Then we're going to check the ACIS, or acoustic control induction system. So that's this little valve at the back here. So once we fire it up, this thing should go down to close the 8 little valves that are there. Again, I have a video about the ACIS system, so feel free to pop over that and it'll actually explain exactly what it does, how it works and what it looks like. All right. Then we're going to go through, we're going to read the codes on the machine, and I'm going to show you how to read the codes in your fuse box. In case you don't have access to a machine, you can read those there nicely. Okay, so first off, we're going to go and turn on the ignition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the black with the red 12 volts, and obviously that is then going to turn on the system. We're going to get our check engine light on here, our check engine light on here, and the other LED is going to light up for the alternator. So bear with me a second while I do that. As you can hear, the relays clicking away there. So I'll just get rid of that light. So we've got both LEDs coming on for the alternator. We've got the LED coming on in the fuse box for the check engine light. And obviously over here, we've got our check engine light over there. Okay. Just going to move over to our machine over here. I take ages to read, so I've already gone in, and I'm just going to go into the system select so that you can actually see that it is picking up. So it's LS400. Yours is actually a Celsior, but yeah, LS400. We can go into engine and electronic control transmission. And what we should see if we go on the data list is we'll start seeing the data being populated through things like TPS, And there you go, we've got coolant temp, intake air temperature, throttle position, etc, etc. Okay, so happy with that works over there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and test the fuel pump. So we're going to go into active test. We're going to go into fuel pump. Now it does say fuel pump relay and fuel pump. Please go watch the video about the fuel pump system and you'll understand what those two actually mean. Fuel pump relay is not what you think it means, and it's not actually controlling the fuel pump. Okay, so all we're going to do now literally is press the side arrow, and there you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep pressing it so you can hear the relay clicking on and off. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you can actually hear the pump working. Okay, right, so we're happy with that. So next step is now we're going to start it up and we're going to run through the rest of these. It is loud, there's no exhaust on here. I've got my ear protectors for me. I'm going to keep on talking as we go along, but I'll keep referring back to the paper and pointing out just in case you can't hear me. Okay, so let me put my ear protectors on. Okay, so just going to make sure that we've got our earth in there. Okay, we're going to take our black with the yellow, and 1, 2, 3. Okay. So obviously it starts. Our check engine light has gone off, same as over there. Our LEDs have gone off, indicating everything is fine. So we're going to test the drive-by-wire. We're going to come over here. So I didn't want the ignition to turn off because we're still going to go through the codes there quickly. I'm going to show you how to read the codes. Obviously the engine has died. Our check engine light is back on, but obviously as it's running, you can see the check engine light isn't on, so that it'll only come on when you actually have a code that's relevant to you that you need to check out. So everything has worked as it should. Sounds nice. All the cylinders are firing as they should. VVTi control valve is working as they should on each bank. Okay, so going through the codes that you're normally going to have, you're going to have obviously the second set of oxygen sensors, so bank 1 sensor 2, bank 2 sensor 2. Obviously they're not there, they don't affect performance, and most importantly they don't cause a check engine light. Okay, we've fitted the ATOMU device. There's still 3 codes, which is shift solenoid SLT, SLN and SLU. Now again, They don't affect performance, and we'd have to fit resistors on. They get incredibly hot, so it's not worthwhile. And again, they don't cause a check engine light, so we don't fit them. Okay. Now, yours is a Celsior. So what you are going to get is you're going to get the water temperature sensor for hydraulic cooling fan circuit. So again, the Celsiors had an actual hydraulic cooling fan at the front there. So all that wiring is now gone. And obviously you're going to have a viscous fan, because that's what the European LS400s came with, instead of the hydraulic cooling fan. So effectively, these are the codes that you're always going to have. Again, they're not going to cause a check engine light, they're not going to affect performance, but just to be aware when you are looking for codes, that's what you're going to get through. Now then, so when you're stuck and you're not able to actually have a diagnostic machine with you, with the 1UZs, you are actually able to read codes. So what we're going to do is, if you take a look there, you'll see just there, it looks like a fuse should be there. That's not the case. So what we're going to do is, over here is our STA fuse, or our starter fuse. We're going to pull that out with our little puller that comes with the fuse box. We're going to bridge it over across there, and you see this check engine light goes off, and now it's going to cycle through code. So it's going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 27. It's going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 29. So 27, 29, that's the secondary oxygen sensors, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be for the fans. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them, but yeah, so that's how you read the codes. It's like Morse code, 2 sets of digits, you put them together, so you have 2 flashes 7, that's 27, 2 flashes 9, that's 29, 5 flashes 6, that's 56. Once you get to the end of the codes, you're going to see a long pause, and then it's going to start again. So what you'll do is take a note of the first one. So if it's 27, when it gets to the end, it's going to be a long pause, and it's going to go flash 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's how you read codes. All right, there is something else that happens when you put it into the diagnostic mode, so I will go through that because it's quite important. When you bridge that together and you put it into diagnostics mode, you're going to lock the timing at 10 degrees. Okay, so that's obviously for a reason. What you can do is you can put a timing light on here, depending on if you've got a timing light. All right, and coming down to here on your engine, you'll see you've got markings 0, 5, 10, and 15 degrees. Okay. So effectively, I do have a video showing you how to check the timing. So you'll put it in the diagnostic mode, you'll get your timing light, and you'll check timing. So you should be on 10 degrees. So if you have a suspicion that possibly one of the cam gears has slipped, or it slipped a tooth, and you want to be 100% sure, just grab a timing light, bridge that fuse over there, whack it over, start the engine, boom. If you're 15, 12, 13 degrees or whatever, then you know you're out, and then you can pull the covers off and just confirm that that actually is the case. So it's a nice little easy check before you do it. But as you can imagine, what's incredibly important is, if you leave that bridged and just put the lid back on and start driving everywhere, you're going to be locked at 10 degrees, so you're going to lose a whole mountain of power. Okay, so please don't ever leave that bridged. That has to stay open, otherwise you're not going to have a good time. Right, so I think that's about it. Happy with everything. Everything is tested. She seems to be firing on all cylinders, and everything is great. So the next step is we're going to get this off in the box and get it on its way to you, so you can get it fitted into your MX-5. All right, well, thank you very much. And anybody else, if you've got any questions, please feel free, leave a comment down at the bottom. We've got a whole catalog of videos of all different various types of information if there's anything else you want to know about, so do feel free to go through the playlists. I do try and separate them for different things, like we've got an ECU master section, we've got a link ECU section coming up as well. So how to set up a whole link ECU on a 3UZ engine, so that's going to be coming up next as well. But other than that, anything else, let us know. We try and make videos to answer you guys' questions, so if you have anything that's bugging you or whatever, give us a shout. We'll try and make a video if we've got an engine and so on in stock that we can get fired up and create the problem and show you guys how it works. Right, but thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.